that I sent out. I sent it to that the main email where we're kind of communing with everyone. So if you didn't get it and you'd like it, I can forward it to you. But really it just kind of outlines what we've got going on that has to do with, that ties into our wetland education and how, because the thing is everything is most effective if we can get people to be participating in action-oriented things, whether it's in their yard or with the community. So just really outlining these local workshops. We've got our workshop on March 22nd, which is when we're going to be wrapping up our plant guide, which I forgot to send out the most recent version. I can just forward that right now. It's not as far along as we'd like, but me and Rebecca are working really hard to get it done in time. It's just plain and simple takes a lot of time and hours to get all those down. So I'll send out the most recent version. So if people have input, if you have personal input about the native plants that are listed, like Betty kind of reached out and was like, this one says it's deer resistant, but in my area, I would say it's more moderate. So things like that are helpful. We definitely want, practical advice from people who are doing this in their very own yards. And so then we have Eric Elgin is going to be doing gardening for wetland edges, which is so perfect for what we're talking about with Build Back the Buffer. And so I am going to send that out to my core group of volunteers, just kind of get that out there. Got the native plant sale in May. We've got wetland walks scheduled the first Wednesday of each month. So those are all outlined. And then we also have an Earth Day cleanup that is going to focus on Central Park Drive. We did this last year too, and we got a lot of trash. But I would like to start it in the Nancy Moore wetland area. I was walking along Okemos Road the other day, and there's just so much trash at that, the area where the bridge goes over the wetland. There's a ton of trash all throughout the area. So depending on how many people we get signed up for that, we can have some people start there. But generally what we did last year is we worked down Central Park Drive, and there's, a lot of wetlands that drive also affects. I'm really trying to get businesses involved. I haven't sent out any letters or anything yet, but I do want to try to contact them. I'm thinking the easiest way is going to be like a letter and a flyer, just kind of saying what we're doing, and then giving them the option to participate, either donating, drinks or a snack, or just being in general support if they want to send some employees out, because, it ends up that we are picking up a lot of takeout trash right near those areas. So there's definitely trash from those businesses that's being contributed to that area. So that's really the rundown for what the calendar is looking like and what we're working on as far as my side of things, kind of townshipy things.
Just very briefly, Ranger is not available on Earth Day, but they have other dates that they might be available if we want to do another cleanup. They helped out a lot last year.
Yeah, they did.
But I'm sure we'll get plenty of volunteers.
Yeah. Yeah, and if not, we can try again.
Is that a flyer that we might be able to give to Paige for the Landscape Expo? This starts Thursday. Or do you have any room in your booth, Paige?
So I don't have a booth at the Lansing Home and Garden Show. MSU Extension does, but it's the MSU Extension Smart Gardening Program. So I won't really have space, unfortunately. I am giving a talk, so I could have it there, I guess, but that's probably less useful.
So I'm giving a talk too at the garden show. So Leroy, I can always bring those. I just made up an April flyer for wetland events that I can bring with me.
Sweet.
I did paste it in the chat too. I didn't know how to formally put it in there. It's just a link.
One question I do have though is you shared, I think in an email, your like stewardship calendar for Meridian Township. So I'm contacted by people often that say they want to like volunteer they just like want to volunteer and do something outdoors. How do you communicate to people? Should they like join an email list that you have, or do you have a website, that sort of thing?
Yeah, they should just join the MCC. I have all of our events are listed on the township calendar as well. But some of them are like location to be determined, those sorts of things. And that's all. The best way to be in communication with me is being on the MCC list, because I send
Right.
the email out once to twice a week, just updating people and letting them know where we're going
Can
to
you?
be.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I
sounds
can put
perfect.
that in the chat. Yep.
Perfect,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. I
'Cause
appreciate
then
it.
I can point people there. And then MGROW is sending out a newsletter in the next few weeks. And so they'll highlight the wetland walks and the work Meridian Township is doing. So thanks for that flyer. I really appreciate it. So hopefully that will generate some interest too.
Yeah, thank
Great.
you so much for getting it out there.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Paige. Great. Thanks, Emma. So Rob, last time Betty had, so Rob and Betty, both are wild ones. Betty had recommended that, or offered that. I understand you have a table at the Home and Garden Show.
Yeah.
And she said that it would be okay to put some flyers there. Is that
That
still?
would be fine. Yep.
Good. Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay, fantastic. So the flyer that you're working on, Emma, just like you're just changing the dates from like that the blue background one, is that what you're putting there? Is that the
Yeah,
one you're doing?
I have that updated for April right now. So, because I'm trying to think, the Home and Garden shows this weekend. I don't know if I have anything listed after that. So yeah, I will forward that right now with that native plant guide, the most updated version, so that everybody can have that flyer too.
Okay.
I don't know how
it
many
would be-
booths you want to have the flyers in, but I will volunteer the landscape and nursery folks that are involved there. I know that they would be happy to put them in their booths. And some of them have some very large, very large booth spaces there. So if you want to get more out, I can relay the information to you, and I have contact with a lot of them quite frequently. So
Awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. So are we just thinking that that flyer, or like the wetland brochure, or what are we thinking that would be the most helpful to have at that kind of event?
I think any of those would be fine. I mean, you're hitting a broad audience there, and I think it would be good to have them all there.
Fantastic. So Emma, or can you get those to Rob then, or Leroy, or who can get the information to them?
Yeah, I'm gonna forward the up-to-date plant guide and that April flyer, and then I will include the wetland brochure, which I think I have the most up-to-date version. I'm pretty sure it's the most up-to-date version, so I can send those right now to the whole group.
But does that need to be, do we need to have printed off copies, basically, like on tables kind of thing?
Oh gosh, yeah, I can bring printed off copies with me, but I don't know, I'm not getting, my presentation is until 1, so I can get those to you somehow.
I'm willing to, I think setup starts like today or something. I don't know when setup is going, but some of these people are building houses and entire yards.
Waterfall.
started
Yeah,
last
so
week.
however I can get them to you. I mean, I can always have Rebecca drop them off too on Friday when she's here. Drop them off to your residence or whatever's convenient. I don't know if you live in the township, but
If the flyers are dropped off in the Wild Ones booth, then I can see that they get distributed amongst the landscape and horticulture folks from there.
okay.
Sounds good. If you need help, maybe Emma and I can coordinate how to get those over there.
Yeah, right.
And I can make copies, Emma.
Okay.
Okay, great.
If-
Thank you. That's kind of what I was after there, because I don't know when Betty, I'm sure you have shifts, you're doing all of that kind of stuff there. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity to get this information out to a broader audience. So I'm really grateful, Rob, that you're willing to asked folks to have had them in their booths, and Paige and Emma, by very nature of you doing your talks, people are going to be interested. So I'm grateful that you're willing to do that too. So fantastic. Okay. Anything else on the dates here? I would also add about the dates, I suppose, is that the pre-orders are happening in April. And the native plant class is on March 22nd. And then after that class is done, the 2 weeks later after the class, they're going to run that native plant class on home TV for 2 weeks. So it will be available to another audience to, view the, learn about native plants and to put them in their yards. So I think that's a really great opportunity. I'm very excited that native plant class sold out. So, and then I'm assuming, with the wild ones and all that kind of stuff, more people are interested. So thank you for all of those opportunities. It's going to be great. Anything else on this topic at all about dates? Anything we're missing in there? I think I would just add in there like the pre-order dates, for native plant class or native plants at Harris Nature Center. Like it sounds like from what I understood from talking to Katie Adams is that they really would like to have those pre-orders by the end of April. Is that correct? Am I correct about that? Emma, do you know?
I thought it was April 29th, but I just don't have that information from me right now, but
Yeah,
I
okay.
thought it was
I
April
think you're right
29th.
about that. I think it's April 29th too. I think that, did I say March? I meant April if I didn't
I
say.
think it says right on the form too. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe even having a link to all of that too might be helpful somewhere along, so people can find that easy enough. So, okay, fantastic. Anything else on this? No? Sure.
I'm wondering if we might want to just put together like a little postcard rather than try and have a bunch of fact sheets and spend a lot of money on copies, because a lot of the people who go to the Home and Garden Show are from around mid-Michigan and may not be as interested. I'm just thinking out loud, but throwing the idea out there about us, maybe a one pager or a postcard type of thing that points to a website or the MCC volunteer list or something like that.
Well, I think that, have you seen the flyer that Emma has? That blue one will have that with the blue background. Will have some of that anyways on it,
Okay,
right?
well, that
Or
might be the
what are
ticket.
you referring to? What are you referring to?
No, that would probably do it. But if we want to, rather than the wetland brochure or an entire calendar, maybe it's just a simple, something simple.
Oh, I don't know that we need a calendar. I guess I'm confused about that, but yeah, I think maybe a few brochures might be helpful. I don't know. I have no idea about the numbers. I don't know. So I will let you guys make a judgment call about, what do you think, Emma, on that?
Well, the flyer I have just has MCC events that are related to wetlands. And it does have the information on the wetland website. But
Might be the
if
ticket.
I mean, I guess we could just have almost more like a half page, like you're saying, Leroy, where we could just call it like local, I guess, native plant and wetland resources. I don't know, because it's like totally a mix of things. It's Earth Day, it's wetlands, it's native plants. So, I mean, we can definitely throw something together that has as much information, as little information as you want.
How about Girl Scout cookies with little logos imprinted on the, like a QR code.
I just have so many events that I'm working on for this wetland project that I'm not really looking to make a bunch more promotionals because I got to get this native plant guide done. So.
I think the blue, let's just go with what we have, like the blue flyer that you have and a few wetland brochures. Unless you want to do that work, Leroy, I think that it's pretty, there's not much time, to get something done and taken care of. So I think that might be the best choice. Does that sound like a good?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm going to share a fact sheet I did with, for the Lake Lansing group, and if you think of any use for that, sort of what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway,
that fact sheet was really great. And it was
Oh,
it
okay, I
just a
forgot
one
about that.
page?
it was a 2-pager. I'll share it, and
Yeah.
Emma and I like the idea of keeping it simple. Kendra, thank you for that. If
Mhm.
anyone else has any suggestions, especially Paige or Rob, who deal with hundreds of masses of quantities of people, of what's
Leroy,
most
I think
useful.
that fact sheet would be pretty poignant though, because of Lake Lansing. And also I think it does, I mean, it's for anyone who lives, you know, by a lake or whatever. So, and that's a nice front and back. So it's just one page. And so I think that would be a great resource too.
Okay, well, I'll share it, and if anyone has any comments, let us know, and I'll work with Emma to get those over there, hopefully on Thursday.
Okay, great. That sounds good, Leroy. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. So, okay, so then that's basically 3 things that you guys will be getting to, like to the home garden show. Okay, fair enough. All right, fantastic. Okay. Anything else on this topic before we move on to the native plant guide? Emma, did you, I haven't had opportunity to find that one, but did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna send on what we have right now. It's very much, we're just building on the draft that we all kind of looked at the last meeting. It's just has more species on it now. So as far as input or comments, just let me know, email me. I don't really know how else to do something as extensive as we want to do without making it a totally huge document, but Brandy has and I have talked, and there's some really good ways that we can get it on the website. And then we were thinking that there's this paper shortage right now, but eventually, and especially when it's really finessed and final, we can have a few like really nicely printed guides too, that can be made available for people who don't want anything to do with computers, which happens. So yeah, just keeping an open mind of if you just have a resource that you think is really helpful, or you just see something on there. The cool thing is we're finding a lot of plants that are facultative or for wetland use. So that's really cool. So that's going to really help us when we try to put together some of our wetland buffer lists. Yeah, so it's going along. We're just really trying to get it done by that deadline for the workshop.
And just to let you know, Rob and Bill, what Emma's working on, she's trying to get native plants that are actually going to be sold at the native plant sale at Harris Nature Center. So she's just focusing on the plants that are going to be actually sold, so people can have a visual what they look like and how to imagine them in their yards. And then we're also looking at, I think Rob or Betty shared some of the resources related to Audubon and Kalamazoo, something or other, I don't remember, with some of those sample plans. So the thought was to have like sample plans that people can put in their yards and then have the plants kind of go along with it. So that was the thought process on that. Is that that's still where we're at, right? Okay, fantastic. Okay, anything else on the native plant guide? I think that's just going to take some time for people to review that, and probably not this meeting, and then the feedback will go to Emma on that.
Yep, you can just email anything to me, or if you want to email the whole group, that's totally cool. But yeah, just feel free. I'll put my email in the chat just to make sure. But yeah, just shoot me an email anytime you feel like it.
And can you email that plant list out to event after the meeting? I'm not going to be able to download it at the current moment. So that'd be great. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then the next, moving on to resending out the wetland letter. And this is kind of combines what Emma and Leroy kind of added on about talking to the businesses. So Emma, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, so we sent out a letter, and along with the wetland brochure last year, letting residents know about our local ordinances around wetlands, how you can protect them, and just really be a better land user for our wetlands. And so this spring, we thought it would be really timely to send the same letter and brochure out to local people like the township works with, residents work with local contractors who put fertilizer and pesticide on, for landscaping. And I was also thinking that contractors who not only do landscaping, but anytime they're doing work where they're going to have to manipulate an area around a wetland. So there's a ton of houses going up right now, and there's piles of dirt getting piled up on wetland buffers. And I've just seen, near Davis Foster Preserve. So just thinking along those lines of anybody who is a professional or a business that is going to be doing some kind of work that could potentially affect wetlands locally. So we're trying to compile a list right now for that.
And that list is compiled, like who are you thinking about on that list, Emma? Unclear.
Well, I just have asked Katie Adams, who's the parks supervisor and superintendent, to send me who they work with generally, people like the mosquito squad, which we really don't spray for mosquitoes in the township. We do on one of our athletic fields, but apparently by the building, I think. But other than that, but just lists like that of professionals in the township, like Katie, like some of our engineers who are working with contractors or working with people. So that's currently what I'm waiting for right now.
Does anyone have any ideas of who they might want to add to that list? I mean, I think of like people like True Green and all of that kind of, those people.
Usually around this time of year, people will be coming door to door, flyers, like Weed Man is one that I'm familiar with. And those people have to go through the police to get a permit to do that. So it might be worthwhile checking with the public safety to see if there's additional names on their list.
That's a good thought, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce.
I also think that people who are MDARD certified, like certified pesticide applicators, I believe that information is publicly available through MDARD. So I don't know if it's broken down by county or where they're working. But that would also be a really complete list. I don't know if you're really looking for that many names, but that could be another option. And I know the person who runs that side of the program for MDARD, so if that's of interest, I can maybe connect you with them. That of course doesn't include everyone.
They have it by counties, so you could easily get.
Great idea.
I wonder if there are certain places that organic wastes are being hauled by different contractors. Maybe Granger, or Hammond Farms, I mean. If they have contractors who are regularly delivering materials to them.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, that would identify landscaping companies that are really active. My husband used to do lots of landscaping and was at Hammond every day. It'd be interesting to see if Hammond would be willing to share that information.
Okay, so do
It
you
seems like they would. Yeah, and of course, our recycling center takes yard waste, so we get a lot of local contractors.
Great.
Good idea, Bill.
Yeah, great idea, Bill. So Emma, did you get all the list? Did you get the names of all of those folks that were suggested?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
She's got the mailing done already, I think.
What?
She just completed the mailing.
You did?
No, I was just joking. Emma's so productive. She's probably got it done by now.
Oh, I know she's been
Yes,
working on it.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Leroy. I'm trying to
So,
be really
Emma,
productive.
Are you sending out the, are you thinking of sending out the wetland letter that we sent out last year in the brochure? Is that what you're thinking about here? Or is there something separate that you're writing up in relationship to this?
Well, I'm definitely gonna tweak the letter only because it's directed toward a resident. So I think we need to tweak it to make it sound like we're talking to, you know, a contractor or business, but I think we should mainly keep a lot of the information. I think just maybe wording it a little differently, but yeah, I was thinking of using the same exact information, just wording it.
It might be nice to list that new, the native plant fact sheet that you're working on. Just sources of native plants, sources of information. It's goes a little beyond, but just telling people to stay out of the buffer strip might be not as well received as, okay, here's some resources that can help you. I'm just thinking out loud, but it might be kind of cool for all of us to just look at a draft, the current draft, and how we might change it, or more, especially Rob, you've worked with these landscaping firms. You might have a particular sense of what their interests and abilities are, what might appeal to them more than just telling them what their regulations are.
Yeah, it's, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Rob. I was just gonna say, maybe we could start circulating that letter and then have people kind of put in edits as they, you know, think maybe we need them.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to get into everything I was going to say because I know you don't want a long meeting, but I'll mention that I work a lot with the Michigan Nursery and Landscape Association, which is here, headquartered in Okemos. And I write a column called Native Notes in each of their publications that comes out during the year. I wrote it for 10 years. I took a couple years break and I'm doing it again. And I have in somewhat response to Leroy's questions, is that I have moved one of my topics later in the year. In the April, I'm currently writing the article for April-May issue of that magazine, which goes to, I mean, everybody that I can think of in England County here is a member of that association. They have thousands and thousands of members. And so I was just saying that the April-May issue is going to be devoted to a lot of things similar to what Meridian Township is doing. So if it's okay with you folks, I will put Meridian Township as an example in the article. They offered me an extra page in the magazine for April-May issue. So we might even get some photos in. So I offer that up. And also because of I have access to the membership lists and so forth and so on, we could reach every greenhouse, nursery, landscape operation in the state that's a member of MNLA if you wanted to at some point in time in some way. And I think it's a good idea if one of these, whatever we come up with, one piece of information that maybe could be available at, like, say, a Hammond Farms or a Van Addis or Christian's greenhouses in Williamston or wherever, that somebody could pick up that would be related to either activities that are going to take place, or maybe one side's got that on and the other side's got recommended plants on. That way, that's something that many of the nursery folks would be interested in. I think the garden center folks would be as well. And that way you're going to hit the vast majority of the audience there rather than just the owner. Again, it's hard for me to be brief, but all of last year, as part of a grant with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I worked with Kalamazoo Valley Community College, and part of my job was industry contacts. So I contracted all of last year hundreds of landscape and growers and horticulture greenhouse operators throughout the state and had personal conversations with them in order to provide the information eventually back to the USDA. And so there's a lot of folks out there that would be very interested in this. And I think we need to wean some of them off the pollinator craze. Not that that can't still be there, but I'm so tired of hearing pollinators. I love pollinators. And maybe we blend some of that together too as well. If you want pollinators, some people are really crazy about pollinators. And I have a lot of pollinators at my house, but I only live about 3 minutes from the township office. So I'm on the Red Cedar River here, so I'm close. But anyway, we could reach a lot of different people. Just depends on to what extent that you want to go. The other thing that I'm involved in quite a bit is the Michigan Home Builders Association. And if you want to reach some of the builders and contractors that work with the builders, that can be done too. Okay. The only thing that drives me crazy in the last few years is, and I know it's very important, but the cost of copying booklets and pamphlets and all of this stuff. And every time I mention it at some meeting, they'll go, "Oh no, we don't have a budget to print all of this. We can't print all these brochures." But again, when someone goes like to the garden show, they pick up literature and they still do it, even if it's got an email address on there, and maybe one piece is sufficient these days rather than a whole bunch of stuff. But I think it's important. And if we want to reach a lot of folks, there's a lot of ways to do it in all those groups that we've been talking about in the last few minutes. So, and I'd be happy to work with you guys in any way to get the information out. And I will, if it's okay, like I said, if it's okay for me to specifically talk about Meridian Township's program in the magazine article, I will do that.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that timely offer. And yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I think you make a lot of really good points, and just about the reach and the local nurseries. And yeah, and Brandy and I are really going to work together to make sure that we can get this out in a good way. She didn't seem to be thwarted by how big the file's going to be. Yeah, and then hopefully we can print some. And we definitely want to stay away from, using a lot of paper, but I think having some guides on hand would be nice too. So.
Great. Well, thanks for the offer, Rob. I think that's exactly what we're looking for, is to get the reach out there and I can talk to you more outside this meeting about this whole initiative a little bit more and all that kind of stuff too.
Okay, sure.
So,
And, it's a lot of the landscape and nursery contractors, of which, the contractors make up the largest membership in MNLA, because there's so many greenhouse growers, there's so many in the pure hort end, but the vast majority, probably 75%, are contractors. So they're out there in the field doing the work and training their employees. And I've been involved in some of the training of their employees over the years, in fact, a few months ago. And so it's important, I think, that they start to integrate more of this into their training programs and so forth and so on. And I think it's finally soaked into a lot of their strategies. Okay. Wasn't something that they automatically would latch onto, because they have to make a profit. And, they look at their audience and so forth and so on. So, but anyway.
yeah, it's very helpful. Thank you. And I'll email you directly, Rob, and then maybe we can set up a time to talk a little bit more about the initiative. And then Emma, what do you think the timeline is for wanting to get the wetland letter, the buffer letter out? What should be a timeline, a goal timeline for that?
I think, I hate to put any more deadlines right now on my plate, but I do think that the first week of April, we want to catch people as they're gearing up to really head out and do the work, I think. So I think we should aim for the beginning of April. So if we can get those contacts together, and I had just reached out to Katie. I hadn't really been able to put a lot of personal time toward getting those contacts together. So I was kind of leaning on her to help me with that a little bit. But yeah, so that's just what I think.
One thought that just occurred to me is that we're looking for local pictures and examples of native gardens, rain gardens. Hate to say it now, pollinator gardens, just restored buffer strips. I know Paige has a lot of those resources and has included some of those, but if we're inviting contractors to share their own examples or refer us to just kind of success stories, maybe that would draw them in to, and we could put those on our green map or a green infrastructure map. I'm just thinking out loud, it would be a different flavor than, here's what a buffer strip is, here's why wetlands are important. It's more like, we want to promote what you're doing or what you can do, and here's the classes and the workshops and the resources we're assembling. Send us examples, and for more information about our education campaign, click here. I'm just thinking out loud, but it's a different flavor than the wetland letter that I just posted that we sent out to 1,400 residents that live near or adjacent to a wetland.
Well, it's all great ideas, but you have to think that people are going to read a limited amount of information, and I guess maybe Rob can be better suited in that. I think that the wetland letter was well written. It's clear about what things are and what things are, and I think sometimes when you put too much in there, as much as you want to educate people about doing something different, like there's this much attention and that people are going to read. So we need to get the most important information out into that first couple paragraphs, and then probably put some resources down at the bottom and stuff like that too. So to what degree people know about things, I can't say that I know. What I can say that I do know is that there are people that are putting chemicals in those buffer strips, and I'm not sure if they don't know it, whether that's residents or contractors, or they don't know the buffer strips. It's just bringing awareness. And so sometimes you can water down the message too much by having too much information in there. So what is something that's going to catch them and be able to be, so then again, it's not too much work on all of our parts to get something out in 2 weeks of a time frame. Other thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say that if we want to look more long-term, beyond 2 weeks for me, I would be willing to contact a lot of the contractors that I know that have done projects that have photos that would be willing to share them. And maybe we build up a database of projects so that as time goes on, we can show some different projects that have been done and where they're at, who the contractors were, and help spread the word that way, as Leroy was mentioning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. I was thinking about if you have that information and we can add that in there, that's great. I was just thinking about the timeline and knowing that Emma's got a lot on her plate. So if we can get a start of that letter going and try to get that done, I'm getting emails from True Green, as Bruce was mentioning, the folks are going out to different homes, people are signing contracts, so how do we get that information out there? Those treatments start in March, right? So how do you get that information out there and that kind of timeline? So
I think too, we also need to think about the fact that we're contacting businesses. Like, these are professionals in this field. If they get a letter from the township, they're probably going to want to read it. And if they don't, then, when you get your pesticide applicator license, you learn all of these things. So, some of them, we're not going to really be telling them new information. And even if they do know that, are they following that rule? So I guess what I'm just thinking is that we do want to make it fun and everything, but to me, that's more reserved for residents and community-based stuff. These are people who this is their job. If they get a letter about, hey, these are ordinances that you should be thinking of as your profession because you could be going against an ordinance, or, we sent these out to everybody and they know, what to look for. I just think it's a different group of people, and we don't have to focus as much on, does this look fun for them to read? But we're really trying to educate them as a business and a professional. So I think that's
and work with them, because they talk to dozens of people every week, and they can be real assets if they know that we're sort of working together on this. and maybe just a paragraph or two that talks about looking for examples or some of the resources available. So, and I'd be happy to put a draft and then email like a Google Doc link, and so we can sort of provide comments if you like. Take our existing letter, just put that up on Google Drive and share it with you if that works for folks.
I think that sounds great.
Any other comments about this at all?
And I'm going to take a moment to just excuse myself and jump off because I got to go get ready for a program. But I really appreciate everybody coming together on this. It's just really exciting that we have so much
Right.
support. So thank you to everyone. And I'm going to send out the guide right after this. And again, it's totally in progress. So just know that. And it's in the middle of being created. So it might still be a little messy and all that, but that's coming to you shortly. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Hey,
Emma.
before you leave, can we get
Oh,
you
yeah.
scheduled? Can we get scheduled? Can we schedule another meeting so that we can touch base back in? So what time frame do we need to come together again? Can we get this letter done? What time frame do we need to do?
I like the idea of like a regular monthly meeting, a third Tuesday, for example, if this time is good for people. But I'm just throwing that out as a discussion point. And we can make decisions through email too.
The third Tuesday, I'm gonna have these programs every third Tuesday, so I kind of realize it's a little bit too close for comfort on time.
Right.
But otherwise, I'm pretty open. My Tuesdays are pretty open in April.
Should we go to, like, say, for example, maybe 1, 2, 3, the third, if we go 3 weeks out, that's like April 5th, if I'm counting right. Should we go to that spot, and that would be, then we can finish up that letter and get that out? Would that be?
What was your preferred deadline, Emma, for the plant guide? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
March 22nd.
March, okay. I wasn't sure if maybe we could. Okay, that's a lot sooner.
But that is really just, the purpose of that is really to have the people at the workshop when they get that native plant list for the sale, just like so even if it's not totally perfect, at least it's a resource for them, So that is kind of a rush job, but I'm not expecting it to be 100% amazing on the 22nd. So
I get it. So yeah, the 5th is open for me.
Does the 5th work? And then that way we can make sure we've done our edits on the letter by that time and then have that finalized and to go. Would that be fair or not?
so far it works for me.
Everybody else, is that good?
Yep, it's fine.
Okay, so we'll do, we want to do 3 or 3:30 on the 5th.
3 o'clock is much preferred for me.
Everybody else, 3 o'clock?
That
3
works for
o'clock
me.
it is on the 5th. Okay, great. Thank you, Emma.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay.
Too.
Great. So I don't know that we have, is there anything else that we need to talk about then? Because I feel like there's a lot of, I think the main thing. So is there anything else anyone has to talk about on this at all?
No, one comment I'd like to make though is that for MGROW, when I told our newsletter person, like, hey, we should promote the wetland walk, I could not find anything on the Meridian Township website about it. And that might just be me not being able to find stuff or know where to look. But I didn't see like dates, for example, of the wetland walk. So I don't know. That's just my thing. I was like, I don't know where to point people to. So that just might be something to remind Is it Brandy that does the website?
Yeah, she just sent an email apologizing for missing the meeting.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only suggestion, was like, oh man, I wish that I knew where this lived so I could tell people about it. So
That's very helpful. I mean, it's good to get feedback. Unfortunately, our communications staff are pretty strapped. Since their budget was butchered several years ago,
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was like supposed to be on the wetlands website or if there's somewhere else in Meridian Township people should go to learn about the wetland walks or the stewardship group. So I just wasn't sure like where to point people to.
Mhm.
I get
know-
it. I do website stuff. It's hard.
I don't know where it lives. Where does it, other than where does it live? I don't know. Other than MS Calendar, MCC, is it on MCC? I don't know. I haven't looked it up actually. I don't know, but it's a good point.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to find it either, other than through emails, and I'm not sure I've got the latest version. So
Okay.
I'll check with Emma and Brandy on that.
Great, thanks, Leroy. Okay, anything else, anyone? All right, so it sounds like if I'm hearing things correctly, we have our dates out there. Leroy, you're gonna, the wetland letter that we had, or was Emma gonna, I thought Emma was starting on that. Is it Emma, or you were gonna start on that end of things and get that out to the group here for us to get feedback?
I can post the existing letter on a Google Drive, and then if people want to add or subtract from it, they can make comments on that.
Okay. All righty.
Thanks for your offer, Bob, to highlight Meridian and share your resources.
Yeah, that's great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sometime in the next couple of weeks or so, I'd like to come over there and talk to as many of you as possible that are available. And I'll bring some magazines over too, so you can, because I don't know if anybody over there gets the Michigan Nursery and Landscape Association magazine or not, but I'll bring some copies over so you can see what the articles are like.
And I'll reach out, let's communicate via email and we'll set up a time to talk and I can educate you a little bit more about our initiative and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Right.
that's
okay.
great.
Okay, anyone else have anything? I know there's vernal pool stuff coming up. Bruce, are you going to be doing the vernal pool stuff? Is that on the 20th or something?
I don't think I'll be going to the one that's on Emma's calendar. I believe there's another one that's going to be actually in Baker Woodlot a little bit later that UMAN is going to be doing. So, and then of course, I'll be out in the field in April for the first survey of the ones that I've been collecting data on.
Great, that's exciting. Okay, good. Well, you want to talk a little bit about that right now? We can put that on and talk about the vernal pools next summer.
Well, there's the Vernal Pool Partnership, which is a statewide that there's a training that's put out by the partnership, usually done by UMAN League. It's a couple of days online that she did. It's about 3 hours each time, and then you go out for an actual field experience and shows you hands-on stuff, and then you can go on it's an actual GIS database that is part of Vernal Pools. That you can find vernal pools or suspected vernal pools. You can look up information on each of those vernal pools. If there's no information on that spot that they think is a vernal pool, just based on aerial photographs, you can go out and actually ground truth it and add that data. So, and adopt that vernal pool. Which is what the whole vernal pool patrol is, and that's all added into that database, and the information is updated every time you visit, and it's pretty cool. Chance to get out in the woods and catch salamanders and frogs. And,
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. Right. Great, that's awesome. Yeah, I look forward to seeing or maybe participating in some of that. And I think the community, just more of that hands-on stuff, getting people out there, getting people connected, getting people to care, that helps everybody. So one last thing that I forgot to add to the agenda, and I know Leroy, you had sent out an email about for March 30th, a green dialogue, and with someone who wants to consider a buffer, and I'm not sure the folks on this group can attend that meeting, so I would just wonder about that date, and because I feel like this is the group that has the expertise in that area. So I know that Emma can attend, but I don't know if the other folks can attend March 30th. So if not, then I would recommend we try to find a better date that everyone can attend. So I know Emma can attend, but I think Rob, I don't know if you can.
What is March? I mean, what is the
Well,
program?
There's a resident that is has got some issues on their property about restoring a buffer, and they've got a very wet lot, and they were looking for some guidance. This is just the start of a conversation with them, but if you're interested, I'd be happy to share the letter that we got from them. Since that time works for this couple, I'd rather not switch it. But if there is interest in an ongoing conversation with them, we can certainly set up another time when people can make it. These dialogues happen every week, and once or twice a month, we'll have something a little bit more structured. And this is one of those more structured opportunities. So just talking about their landscape and things that they might do to address some of the challenges that they have.
And what time is it
And
on the
that's
30th?
understood.
It's at 9 a.m.
Oh,
on a Wednesday, every Wednesday morning, but this one particular will have that the mariachis, one or more of the mariachis who are working with a landscape contractor, and that landscape contractor might join that date as well. So it's at 9 a.m.
Yeah,
send the
best
link.
part about that, Leroy, is that it's helpful. This group is the people like that are focusing on this area. So letting folks know here and to best help these folks so people aren't wasting their time, everybody's time, to have people who've been working on this project for a long time coming together. So if 9 a.m. on the 30th works, I think that's, does that work for Rob?
yep, that's fine with me.
Okay, Paige, does that work for you?
It does work for me. I have it on my calendar in bold to attend.
Oh,
So
sweet.
I changed it when I got the email from Leroy.
Okay, in the future, can you make sure we ask at this meeting about people being able to attend as opposed to, so that we don't have to like try to,
Yeah,
circle around so the appropriate people can be there?
certainly that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great.
Thank you, everybody. I'll send out some background information about the mariachis, and yeah, it's going to be the first 15 minutes will be maybe getting some expert opinions, and then it'll open up for dialogue and anyone who wants to throw in any compost on the fire. Bill, you should bring some of your worm poop. How is your worms? How are your worms, by the way?
They're doing just fine, thanks.
Okay.
So glad
Yeah, so
to hear that. Give
so
them
we
my
have-
best.
Yeah, so just so you know, Rob, like, these green dialogues, they're taped events that to educate the community and have some, expert, people offer their opinions and stuff like that to it. So it's a taped kind of a little bit more formal than, well, somewhat formal, I suppose, just where we have a focused conversation about something. So I'm really grateful that everyone could attend that meeting at that time. So, all right, anything else? Otherwise, we will come back together on the 5th at 3:30 or 3 at 3. Okay, great. All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate your help. We'll see you
Thank
next
you for
time.
facilitating.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. All right, bye-bye.